up, everybody? Welcome to the GameOverGreggy show. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Top of the morning to you,
Top
Greg.
of the morning to you, sir. What a spree came out of my mouth. Over there! The pure one, Tim Gettys.
The fuck's Spree?
It's a candy nobody liked. Don't you remember Spree?
Okay. Yeah, you're right about that.
Remember, they were like, you like excited that you thought you had sweet tarts, and then they were Spree.
Oh, I mean,
Don't fucking talk shit
I
about sweet tarts.
overdosed on that shit. When you take it, then you like you pound it all out, and then you snort it.
No, that's
No?
over there.
No one did that?
Pride of Long Island, Colin Moriarty.
That's how you do it.
And then over here, making his return to the show, a long requested guest, Ramon Navarez.
Thank you. I do love me some Spree.
Did you like Spree? Spree sucked.
No, not really.
Yeah, nobody likes Spree.
Yeah, now I'm
The
thinking
worst
about like
movie theater candy.
that
Spree.
weird
Sweet
in
tarts.
between period when it turns soft.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hold on.
The
Am I
ultimate.
Kinda
tripping
strange.
out here? Sweet tarts are the ones that you can like turn into like the dust, right?
Snort it.
Yeah, if you wanted to.
I think you can turn anything to dust.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I don't know.
like, they're like extra dusty.
No, they are not extra dusty. Sweet tarts were like
chalky
fine
ones.
porcelain.
Get yourself a
You're
Vitamix.
thinking of the ones that he's thinking of the ones that come in like the
Smarties.
wax paper, and you have to.
I'm thinking about
Smarties. You're thinking of Smarties.
Yeah.
Sure, that thing sucks too.
Yeah.
Sweet tarts #1, Smarties,
Sweet tarts.
Spree.
Sweet tarts are the ones that are like
Some
nickel
kids
size.
are cool.
Yeah,
They
they suck.
eat the sweet tart slow. They let the sweet taste linger. Let the sour taste grow. Other kids wild on the go. These sweet tarts pressing the flavor go.
What the
That's
fuck?
the commercial. A blast of joy, a burst of rain, make
I don't remember this shit.
I watch a lot of TV.
Like a steel trap.
Nope,
You know that?
I don't. You know I do.
When it comes to
do.
lyrics and jingles, I don't understand how you know so many words. You should not know any of that.
We gotta watch the sweet tart commercial after this because
All
you're
right.
gonna enjoy it.
We don't have to.
You're probably too young. What you'll enjoy. You remember
I
the sweet tart
definitely-
commercial?
Nah,
Huh?
get
You
your
always watching
arm
that.
off of me.
You watching that? You watching that Nick Gas all the time. You know some sweet tart.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
You right.
Nick Gas didn't have commercials.
Didn't it?
You guys see they're doing all that?
I never
reunion?
had. We didn't have the Nick
Thanks
Gas.
for the correction.
Shit's real.
Doofus.
So what? How'd the shows run without commercials?
It
What
was
did
just
do?
like they had like interstitials that were like made for Nick Gas, and then they would just
Their own commercials.
yeah, like, and they would just play the same. We don't really remember those days very well anyway.
I wonder why.
Nickelodeon magazine,
Proactive
please.
Commercials, I think. Stuff like that.
If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Game Over Greggy show each and every week. 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table, each bringing a random topic discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny where you can toss us a few bucks and get each and every episode early, along with exclusive access, perks, and other things. If you have no bucks to toss, head over to youtube.com/kindafunny and watch it be broken out topic by topic, day by day, until the entire show posts as one big free MP3 and video on the Friday.
And if you want to be hella cool, go to kindafunny.com/tickets
Why?
and get your sweet nasty ticket to Kinda Funny Live 2.
When's Kind of Funny Live 2?
May 28th and 29th.
A
That's
2-day
damn
event?
right. It's a 2-day event.
That's
all ages. Oh yeah. A lot of people asking, can I drink my alcohols if I'm over 21? Hell yeah.
You can drink the alcohol you purchase at the event. Don't BYOB.
Yeah, no. But all ages means everyone's included and anyone can have their fun.
Gotcha.
I remember seeing
Legally.
that for the first time when I was young. Like, you got an
hell's
invitation. I'm
BIOB?
like, what's BIOB? And my
I'm
dad
gonna
was
be
like,
real.
"Don't worry about it."
There's that the grassy ass thing, like that. There's some phrase about grass in your ass. You guys need to help me out here.
No.
Something about-
gracias is how you say thank you. in
Your
Spanish.
ass is grass.
Your
Come
ass
on,
is-
come on.
There's
Feedback
some
on that.
grass.
Gracias?
There's some grass. Shit.
Gracias?
Oh, is he trying to say gracias?
Oh,
No,
you
no, I
mean
know that.
Salto.
In the Blink 182, I'm
Salto.
feeling it video.
Yeah.
No.
Turn all the lights down
Yeah.
low. Oh, I'm feeling it. That's what you're thinking of.
They say grass.
They say I'm feeling it, not
I know
grassy.
that- I know
ass.
that.
Nobody likes you when you're 23.
There's some references. Anyways,
Cash, grass, or ass.
no. Anyways, forget it. Someone in the comments will remind me, and then I'll bring this up later, and it'll make a little bit more sense.
Well, someone bring your ass.
Because I never
some
understood that
grass.
shit. Your ass is grass. Maybe that
Yeah,
was
that's
what
it.
it
That's
is.
what I was saying. Your ass is
Yeah, yeah.
grass, and I'm the lawnmower.
Totally. Your ass is grass.
Okay. So I've just never heard that second part.
I gotcha.
People just say it,
Your ass
assuming
is
I know
grass.
the second part.
Right.
And you think it's a compliment, but
I'm
really
just
they're
been like,
threatening
the
to beat
fuck
you
does
up.
that mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay. That
That's
makes a lot of
exciting.
sense.
Okay.
Or
I
your ass
apologize.
is made of marijuana and they want to roll you up and
See, I
smoke
thought
you.
it was some marijuana reference. You know,
That's not.
Blink 182, I wouldn't put it past them. They're into some weird shit.
They're the ones that do that song that goes, something.
That might be 311, I think.
Is that, that's 311? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Ramon, we're glad you came.
I'm glad to be here.
We glad. We glad. The fans glad.
We glad.
All the world
you
glad
know it.
Ramon
We
back.
glad you show it.
Ramon, we got to ask you to leave the room.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You
Right.
haven't seen Batman v Superman.
Right now.
And
All right.
last time when we did a review, it was very well received by all of you. Thank you for being respectful in the comments of both pros and cons.
Okay.
Tim and I were part of it. Nick and Colin weren't. Nick and Colin have seen it.
Okay.
So now they get to have their say. But
All right.
you can't be here because you're going to go see it on Friday.
Take your subtly red ass beard out of this room.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my red ass beer.
Shit's getting
Why does the
super
beard do
real.
that? Why
I'm
does the
gonna take
beard
my
hair do
little
that?
coffee water setup.
Okay. You need them both, you think?
What was that?
You going to need them both, you think?
Oh, maybe I'll leave my water here.
I was going to say, you probably just enjoy the coffee while you're
Well,
gone.
thanks, Dad.
No problem. Is that kind of dadly advice?
The dad like back rub you gave him too, which I appreciate.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
All right, fam.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I'm gonna be out.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Batman v Superman is upon us. As of this recording, it is the Monday after opening weekend, in which I think today we said 7th best opening weekend of all time or whatever. It was originally slated. It looked like over the weekend it was going to hit 4.
It just
Adjusted
beat-
numbers hit 7.
It just beat Dark Knight Rises. Just lost the last Harry Potter movie.
Yeah, and it's now it's WB's second or whatever on the top 10 list in terms of openings or that. Nick and Colin, you're the only ones who haven't weighed in, so take it away.
It's funny that there's like an actual line down the table now, because that's pretty much how I figure the rest of this conversation is going to go. I actually, and surprisingly, I will say I went in after hearing your opinion on it and Kevin's opinion on it and Greg a little bit. I had very low hopes for this film. And I went in and Colin and I we had a nice mandate. We sat down together. We got great seats, largely because there was not a lot of people in the theater, which was not a good sign, but I held out. I was like, maybe this will surprise me. And it did. I actually enjoyed I enjoyed the movie almost the entire way through, with the exception of
Wait, time out real quick, by the way. This is going to be a spoiler-filled discussion. That's why we kicked Ramon out, but I didn't tell you, the viewer. So just a heads up, viewer. If you haven't seen Batman v Superman, this is probably a chance to bolt. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, with the exception of like 3 or 4 moments where I'm like, are they really going there? And then thank God it was a dream.
Flying back
yeah,
in.
that was like, I'm like,
when
this is
I
not
sat down,
starting to
I was
feel
like, oh my God,
You mean
there's
the opening moments to the movie?
Yeah,
No, but
there's
that's-
no way they can screw this up. Oh.
Yeah, he starts levitating, the bats start carrying on. I was like, this one's going to be a little hard to defend. No, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I actually was pleasantly entertained the entire way through. Especially, and I'm eating my words right now, I especially liked Ben Affleck as Batman. I thought he did a great job. I was, again, pleasantly surprised. I would even put him maybe above Bale as a better Batman overall, just because I feel like he really nailed the part. He nailed the part to me of Batman playing Bruce Wayne, which I thought was really, really cool.
I could have gone for more of that.
I
like the one doofy moment of like, I thought this was the bathroom.
Right.
That last martini was too many.
Right, and she's like,
I like your shoes. Like just that he played that doofy aloof character there for a second. I was like, that was cool.
So I thought that worked. I really liked the relationship between him and Jeremy Irons, and I think that's again something we haven't really seen before on film. It's not the you stop doing this, you're gonna die. Stop doing it. It's like we passed that point 10 years ago, and now it's been 10 years since of me just kicking the shit out of everyone. And this guy is no longer my butler. He is my partner in this endeavor, and he is like it's 50-50. So I liked all those moments, and I actually really liked. I like Cavill as Superman. I just think the movie starts to fall apart a little bit in the third act, and I think we were talking earlier today where they're going to add 30 minutes to the Blu-ray.
Yeah, they just
I feel like that's
as of recording today is when they put out the communion scene of Luthor in the Genesis chamber, looking at what he's talking to apocalyptic person of some kind.
So I feel like that's really going to kind of start to fill in some of the blanks, which were, from what I can glean, a number of the criticisms that people have of it, right? Was that it just wasn't, the Lex Luthor stuff kind of came out of nowhere. It wasn't really supported. You don't really know what's happening with a lot of the characters for the most part, with the exception of Batman and Superman. So I'm interested to see that, but overall, I liked it.
My biggest thing with that is like these deleted scenes. It's like, is it going to fill in the blanks, or is it just going to cause a lot more? Just like, all right, what? More questions? Like the clip that came out today.
Sure.
What?
That's exactly what I was telling you I thought happened.
Bunch of like where the army looking guy, or not army, like the dudes coming in, like who the hell are they? Why?
They're the government. They're there to apprehend Luthor. They're investigating what was going on now that Superman and Doomsday are outside of it.
Okay, and so Luthor.
Because remember, he got arrested at some point. So how did he get arrested and put into?
Gotcha. Okay,
the penitentiary?
So that is after Doomsday leaves, then. Okay, I
theoretically, yeah.
I thought it was
been killed.
I thought when I first watched it, just from when you showed me it out there, I thought it was when he first went into the water.
No,
and
battles
tell me
happen.
everything.
They've been thrown out. I think I think it's that gap of like, how when it ended, like when we talked about it in our thing, and I want to give you guys your time. We talked about the fact of like when Luther's going into a maniac mode or whatever, and I'm like, why is he suddenly doing this? Why? And then you get to the end, and he's like clearly unhinged, and he's talking, and like I kept saying, I wish when they shaved his head, there was an Omega symbol on the back, and you'd be like, he's an agent of Darkseid. This is his indoctrination into that, or at least part of it.
Yeah,
where
okay.
he's communicating and telling them, you assume Superman's dead. And like the things there, which I don't think is Darkseid, I think it's just an agent of Darkseid, is there, and you see mother boxes floating around, which would have been great for us, because when we left the movie theater and we watched it and we saw the cyborg thing, I didn't put it together that was supposed to be a mother box in their world that he fuses to Victor to make Cyborg. And so like when I got home and I read or when I guess other people watched it and I read their reviews or critiques of it, I was like, holy shit, that's awesome. I think that would have been something to it. Sorry.
Makes sense.
Colin.
Pros, I think, were the characters, or the protagonist. I liked Affleck as Batman a lot. I'm interested in seeing his standalone movies. I think he was a compelling Batman, an interesting Batman. I liked the violent nature of the Batman. I think some people are giving Snyder a lot of shit for Batman's killing people in this movie, and I think that that's totally fine and reasonable. I know that that's not really the way Batman is, but that's a Batman I'd like to see, because I think it's more realistic. Batman being a character with no superpowers, it makes more sense that he would be a more grounded character, whether or not the universe itself is grounded. I also like Cavill as Superman. I think that he was fine. The cons are many. Like the movie has no plot. Like I don't know like how anyone, and I appreciate and I respect different people's opinions, but I just don't understand how anyone could look at this movie and say like this movie has a plot. Like there's a reason why this stuff's happening. Like it's just happening to make the next thing happen. There's like tangential connections between the things just to get to the end. In other words, like it's not good writing. It's actually really bad. Like it's like, and I remember turning you in the middle of the movie and being like literally saying out loud, like, what is going on? Like, why is any of this happening?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. Like, there's no motivation for any of the characters to be doing any of this stuff other than Batman doesn't like Superman, Superman doesn't like Batman. Like, all right, but like, and Lex Luthor's involved, and he like is fucking with the government to like get access to, and I'm like to Zod and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, like, well, why?
To kill Superman.
Yeah, but why? You know, like
I think because he doesn't like Superman, and then also because he's preparing the world for Darkseid.
It's just weird. Like you're like
I understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to fight. I just think that I think that is the plot and that is the underlying thing, and I understand that is building to Justice League. But I think that's still the thing. I think that's still the point of the movie.
It seemed like the whole movie's point was to get to the last scene at the funeral, where they can say like, "Help me find the others that are like you." That's all they. Like, that was 2.5 hours to get to that scene, because like it was just this movie to set this universe up. It didn't seem like it had purpose. It was like inorganic. It was so blatant in its marketing, shilly kind of like let's burst into existence this universe that I'm not so sure anyone really wants, because the movie itself, the starting point for the universe isn't good. You know, and these are their best characters. See, this is the thing that I was like getting really nervous about when I was like, the Aquaman thing was like laugh out loud funny to me. Like that was, I'm like, this character sucks. Like I saw him for 2 seconds. I know that some people, I guess there's Aquaman fans out there.
Both the screening we were at for opening night, or I guess preview night, and then opening night, people went crazy when that happened.
And my thing for that though, and this is just my opinion on it, but I feel like that's just people wanting to act like they're in the know, and they're just like, "This is I know what this is a reference."
I think it's that they're super excited that they like Jason Momoa.
That's cool too.
I don't think they're not cheering because they like Aquaman. I think they like the fact that Jason Momoa might make Aquaman cool.
Like I'll say this, and I don't know if Nick would agree because we did see the movie together. When there was no audible like applause or clapping or shouting in ours, except for one girl said like woo when Wonder Woman showed up. That was it. And then when the movie was ended, no clapping or whatever. And I felt like people like there was like some audible sighs and like shaking of heads and being like, it didn't seem like anyone was enthusiastic at all about this movie. Like in this screening that we saw, and I was surprised by that. I don't want to. I was saying it afterwards. I don't want to necessarily compare it to Star Wars, which is like on a whole other level, but. Every little thing in that movie, like there was a lot of enthusiasm after the movie. People were like, I'm like, I saw this movie and I was like, this kind of, it's not bad. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think there's a lot of hyperbole about how bad it is. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's in any stretch of the imagination good. I think it just exists to extract money out of your wallet for all these future promises of this universe existing, instead of starting from a solid foundation and seeing where it might go. And that was the thing that I was like kind of bummed about. I was like, why didn't you start with a Batman movie? Like, why does it have to start with both of these characters? Like, why couldn't you or a Wonder Woman movie or something? Like, why are you starting from this point and then going forward from there and forcing these different characters in and these weird cameos. And
Well, I
the
think they
movie was
had to.
long. It was laborious to watch. I'm not even a film guy, and I was like, this can be an hour shorter. I don't know what the fuck like the point of half this shit is.
You
And
are
I just
a
felt
film
like
guy.
that,
Do you agree?
No, I agree. It was very long. I think the problem is they sacrificed a lot of those smaller elements that would have really clarified the story. I think to cut down on the time because
Yeah.
a 3-hour Batman versus Superman movie that almost gets you to the point where like you need to have an intermission,
Right.
Which is pretty long.
That's why I was stoked to see the scene today. You know what I mean? Because like since they've announced a rated R version, and since they announced it's 30 minutes of extra footage, like I'm like, yep, I'm all in.
Oh, I will love to watch that because
Yeah.
I think it'll actually like 30 minutes is enough to change a movie completely.
That's what people talked about with Watchmen too.
That's
Like
a-
the
that's
people
a
who hated
lot
Watchmen
of
in
time.
theaters liked the extended cut or whatever and said that was a definitive version. I was reading.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I don't think I've ever actually seen.
I liked
the
Watchmen in
extended
theaters.
version.
I never paid much attention.
I liked
to the
Watchmen in
extended-
theaters, and the
Yeah.
extended cut was much better. I don't think enough. I don't think that it can save this.
Well, I also
you're
know
saying you don't think it's
Watchmen
bad.
was
I do
actually
think
a
it's
fairly
closer to
well
bad.
told story, though. Like
That's
the
the other thing.
Watchmen, people's problem with Watchmen wasn't that the story didn't make sense or that the action wasn't cool. They just went in expecting Batman v Superman, and they got Watchmen, which is not a superhero story. It's a very cerebral, like fucked up tale about like what would happen to real superheroes, and Anyway, you guys, I don't want to go off on that, but it's interesting to see what might happen with that. But Colin, I mean, the thing that I kind of found interesting about the film was that it worked backward, right? Whereas everything built up to the Avengers, and so you had all those origin story threads that built up to it. In this one, this is the first time in a film I've ever seen where they threw something at you and completely didn't feel the need to explain it, and that
The Nightmare with Batman followed by Flash.
right, and that took me by surprise. And at first I had a very negative reaction to it. I was like, they can't do that. You have to set that up. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that is something they would do in comic books. That is exactly something they would do in comic books because comic book readers are used to that sort of an introduction of something like boom, it's there. And then you don't understand what that is till like 2 books later. Right. So I don't understand how we can't readjust our expectation and think that's how these films are going to go from now on. There's going to be crazy shit that comes out and it's not going to be explained till like 2 movies later. And I understand why people are mad about that because I was first, but at the same time, I'm like, how dope is it that just randomly Flash showed up and was like, you got this message from and it's not going to have anything to do with the film you're watching. It's just kind of
and I didn't, and that was what was interesting. I feel like people have asked me a lot since I've seen it 3 times now, and updated opinions and And I'm still there. Like, I really like the movie. Like, really, really enjoyed it. Do I think it's like a fucking fine film or whatever? No, of course not. There's problems with it, or whatever. But I really enjoy it, and what I have come back to is when I was watching it and the Flash popped up, I did think when he's like, it's Lois Lane. I thought they were talking about this movie, and it wasn't until we were talking about it later on. I was like, oh fuck, they weren't, and it was setting up this. And this is after the movie and having these discussions with my friends, like we always talk about, like we like doing or whatever. And so that's the thing for me, and because I'm fascinated, taking my skin out of it of like loving DC and loving Superman and loving Batman and all this stuff. I'm fascinated that so many people get to go watch the same movie and come out and immediately be in 2 camps. And it's funny that it's coming up to Civil War because it totally is on the internet right now. My Twitter feed is like Danny Shepard pops up and he's like, I love it. I'm getting texts from people I know who work for DC Comics like, this thing sucks. Like it's like back and forth.
Right.
All this shit's happening. Like,
I mean, have you seen all the Civil War memes?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you see one of us?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we're like, I'm with Tim, I'm with Greg. And
Civil War, yeah. And that's
awesome.
but that is the interesting thing, and I don't like every there's so many things being tweeted at me of images that are like, if you're a DC fan, you'll love it, and if you're a comic fan, you might enjoy it, and if you're not, and I'm like, these are all cop-out ways to explain
Super
anything.
fucking cop-out.
These are all cop-out answers to explain anything, but I do think there is something to it in terms of, for me, of like, it is, I think, a very, very accurate representation of a comic book to the screen. And I'm not saying that comic book movies can't be more, shouldn't be more, anything like that. But with the introduction of certain things, this ending on a cliffhanger of like it is setting up the next thing. Think about like how they just finished the whole run of I'm trying not to spoil stuff. The Batman arc right now, right? Of the whole Gordon with Jim Gordon stuff, right? And that ended, and it's like, okay, cool. That was a story that led to this point, and we're back to everything being normal or whatever. And obviously that was going to happen anyway. But that was what? I don't know, 7 months, 8 months of that happening over and over again. So it's like when you sit down and you compile how much money I spent on those 8 books at $2.99, it's like, okay, that's a price of a movie ticket, if not more. It took this long, and it's like, well, wait, if we start adjusting our ideas that they work that long on a movie and they give me a movie at that, and then I'm going to get Justice League in a year, another 12 months, which will be another part of the story arc. It is very different than what we've seen before, because usually what we see is, here is the part of the Marvel universe that's explaining this thing, and Captain America's, and then you get your Easter egg at the end to tease the next one. Whereas this one was very much a tease the entire way while telling you one story thread of it to get you to this point. It's fascinating.
I mean, it was a true comic book movie.
But the thing is that like, I don't think it has to be a comic book movie to end on a compelling cliffhanger. Batman Begins cliffhanger is way better than this one's. And and that's not like just showing the Joker card and talking about all this fucked up shit that's happening. In 4 years you're gonna get, or 3 years you're gonna get this like movie with Joker, and you have no idea like what it's about. Like that was way cooler than this like show us like these characters and this weird computer thing. Like I was talking about I was talking to Tim about it, and we talked about it before. Like they should have never showed any of those characters. They should have just showed their icons with Easter eggs, because this movie's so far up its own ass with its fucking comic references that would have been even more in line with like, well, you didn't read the comics, so how would you know that that's Wonder Woman's logo or whatever? And that's like the big cop out that a lot of, like you said, that people are saying. It's like, well, it's a comic book movie for comic book fans, DC fans. I'm like, no offense, there aren't that many of you. If you want to make a fucking $250 million movie, you need to make a mass market movie. Now, like, I know Batman way more than the average person, but I've never read a single fucking Batman comic book. So if you're contingent on me, if you come up to me and you're like, are you a Batman fan? I'm like, yeah, I'm a huge Batman fan. I love Batman. And it's like, well, you got to have read this fucking obscure comic book and this thing to get all the. And I'm like, well, half the people wearing Batman shirts in this theater have never read a Batman comic. I hate to fucking tell you. And like, so when you're just isolating 95% or more of your audience, being like, well, this is a comic book movie for comic book fans, I'm like, that is the most pretentious bullshit I've ever heard in my life. Like, you need to, like, that's like, you're saying it like this is Citizen Kane too. Like, this is a fucking comic book. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying a lot of people are. Where it's like, this is a comic book movie for comic book fans. And I'm like, dude, this movie is action figures banging together for the last hour.
Not even
like,
well. That's my biggest problem. Is it's a Zack Snyder movie, which to me, I'm like, action. That means action. That means cool, well choreographed and directed scenes. And I didn't get that with this. There was none of the fights besides the Batman fight, which was fucking awesome.
See, I thought everything Batman did was awesome, including the Batman v Superman fight. Like that played out totally differently than I thought it was going to play out. And Colin, to your earlier point, the problem is the opposite of what you're saying is what's going to be the next Spider-Man movie. And how many times have we seen a fucking Spider-Man origin movie? Like, we don't need these characters introduced to us.
But we
anymore.
don't need a Spider-Man trilogy again. This is the third time since I was in high school.
At the same time, like, let's look at the three main characters that were in this, right? Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Like, if you don't know who these people are and have some cursory knowledge of them, like, you're probably not going to see this movie to begin with. You're not the person that's going to actually go and
I think Wonder Woman's not in that camp.
I think she's a pretty culturally iconic
I don't
character.
think she is, man.
Yeah, I agree with Tim.
Mainstream audiences, I think she is.
I don't. Like,
Hold on, time out. I think we're starting to split things up. I think Wonder Woman is iconic. The Star Spangled Things. Her origin story, no. But I don't think this movie required you to know that.
It doesn't.
Right now you're leaving, you're like, man, she was alive 100 years ago and still looked hot? That's interesting. What's going to happen?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just saying that, the Mother Box reference to what's Wonder Woman's origin isn't apples to apples. That's all I'm saying.
But I said this a lot in my review, but it's just like you never know that she's Diana. You never know why this woman is even here, and then so there's a woman that's here, and then she's Wonder Woman, and it's like that's like it's not the same as like it's treating the audiences like they know some shit. It's like, no, you're treating the audiences like they're idiots that are just going to buy anything that's given to them, because there's no setup there at all.
To be candid, they are.
No, I know.
As
but
proven by the opening weekend, this movie's going to it's already made a ton of money.
We enjoyed it, so why are they idiots?
Well, no, I'm not saying they're idiots. I'm just saying, like, most mainstream people wouldn't even ask this question. They're not going to leave the theater going, I wonder who that person was.
I mean, they
got a very distinctive beginning, middle, and end for her character, right? She needed something. She found something at the very end when she was going to get on a plane. She's like, you know what? I'm going to choose the higher path, and I'm going to go help these guys. And she was able to do that. And for most people, that's probably going to be enough. They're probably not going to know who that was, and they're probably not going to care, because mainstream audiences really don't think this much about film. And they're gonna go, Batman was awesome, Superman was pretty cool, that the woman was great. And that's all they're gonna say.
Yeah, but I agree with you, but I've beaten this drum with you guys, and so forgive me for belaboring this, because I know you guys have heard this so many times, but maybe some of the audience hasn't. Like, this movie is a fucking shame because of what they had, and like with Batman Begins and Rises and Returns, or not Returns, Dark Knight and Rises, like, they had films that were awesome. Dark Knight Rises is a movie everyone seems to hate now, and it's an 87 on Rotten Tomatoes. You know what I mean? Like, that movie is fucking awesome compared to this movie, in my opinion. And I went back and watched some of it a few days ago, just to be like, I watched actually the whole trilogy like 6 months ago again, and I love it. Like, they're so fucking good. And I went back and just watched a little bit of Dark Knight Rises, and I'm like, this movie is so good. Like, why take this action figure banging together Marvel shit? You can't win. You know, like you're not going to win. Do something that is going to differentiate you. I hate to tell you, your characters are not nearly compelling enough to do this. What you're trying to do is not going to work the way you think it's going to work. Like it might work for a few movies, but they do not have this stable of fucking characters that are necessary to do something like Civil War or something like that, which is like a movie that is going to do way better than this movie. And actually probably people are probably going to like it. And the thing that really bothers me a lot is like, well, we didn't like hearing like Cavill and Affleck being like, well, we didn't make the movie for the critics and stuff. Like, fuck you. That's such a cop out, because if the reviews were positive, you wouldn't be saying that. You wouldn't be saying, well, we don't care what the critics say anyway. Like, we'll go see it now. They'd be like, oh, it's great that our movie's getting well reviewed. And it bothers me that people are like, well, it's making its money. It must be popular. I'm like, I hate to tell you, like, there are diamond certified albums that are fucking trash. You know, that like we can't judge things. It's like what Tim said. Like, if you're just going to give you whatever they feed you, then have fun. But this is the same conversation we had a year ago. You guys had like DC fans had something that differentiated themselves, and you had better fucking movies than Marvel. And now you're just trying to replicate Marvel's thing 5 years too late. And I just don't get like where this like hodgepodge of ideas is going to like give DC fans exactly what they want. And when you guys had the opportunity to have fucking movies, like real films, like with good fucking directors, and it really bothered me to see Christopher Nolan's name on this as executive producer, because bullshit. You know, like there's like 17 executive producers attached to it.
But that's the argument right there, right? Is that we had those films, they didn't want to do them anymore, right? And the other side of it is, I watched 2 films over this week, actually 3 movies over the weekend that I think are relevant to the discussion. One, I watched The Dark Knight again, and then I also watched Justice League War, which is an animated movie. And those two are like the polar opposites, I think, of what this movie could have been, right? And I think it obviously pulls more toward War than it does.
Definitely.
Toward
It definitely has
the
an
Dark
animated
Knight,
feel.
But it has that animated feel where it's like things move a little faster than they probably should, and they're a little bit hyper crazy, like a little bit more exaggerated than they should be, and the story is a little bit thinner than it should be. Did I leave War with the same feeling that I always get when I watch Dark Knight? No, right? But there are very few movies that actually achieve that level of storytelling. But I will tell you this, when I watched Dark Knight, every time Batman was on screen, I was bored. I am bored now by that, because now I have seen what Batman can be, and that's what excites me. And I'm not necessarily going to sit here and defend how great this film was, because it's hard to defend it. It was entertaining, but what I'm super excited about is what Batman can be in a standalone film, if they choose to tell a good story, which I still think they can in this universe.
I think they can too, but what I was interested in, because we were talking about, well, some people were saying like, well, Superman couldn't have, and I'm not saying, Nolan doesn't want to do the movies anymore, but you could have kept that universe and continued it. The Dark Knight Rises does end with the possibility of it continuing.
They still can.
And so it's, and I know Bale doesn't want to do it. It's fine. You switch people out if that's what's necessary, but I would have really been interested in seeing Superman in that universe. You can do it. Like, everything's grounded except for him. You know, like you have this alien from space that can just fuck everyone. You know
It's an
what I mean?
interesting
Like,
idea.
It's fascinating to me. Like,
But it's like it's an Elseworlds title where you know that's not your bread and butter. You know what I mean? In Elseworlds being offshot comic books, they do, right? Where it is set something different out of continuity, usually. They want a continuity here. And don't get me wrong, I would have loved to have seen them investigate that, but I think that also needs the master craftsman that is Christopher Nolan. And so when he leaves, who takes over that, and what does happen to that universe, and how does it get mutated and fucked up? Whereas dropping it into this, where it is a comic book universe, it is a comic book, it is an animated film. I saw so many people say that it felt like one of the DC cinematic things. And now granted, those movies I think can have shown again and again that they can be fantastic.
Yeah, I also watched Flashpoint. Flashpoint
Red
Parody,
Hood, Under the Red Hood, stuff
awesome.
like that. Yeah, like they do amazing stuff, but I don't know. It's interesting, and like my counterbalance to Colin, right, is the fact of it's going to be it's this reaction, this reaction everybody's having leaving the theater, if it's good or it's bad or whatever, and and like if you're going to keep taking it, great, and they have to differentiate themselves from Marvel. I do feel this is different from Marvel, and I'm not even talking about quality, but in terms of the fact that now more than ever, we've done the topic about Jason Todd Joker, and you can go find. I am 1,000% in that is real, and like. I love the fact that that's happening, and I love the fact that this movie did have Flash out of nowhere pop in, and this Flash or this vision that maybe a new god implanted in his head, and there's mother boxes, and like I understand it's a jumbled mess right now, and I hope that I can't, like what I keep talking about is I can't wait for Justice League. Like what I've been toying around in my head with is all these dumb things of like. Justice League Part 1 comes out, Superman's still dead. They're out there, they're doing their thing, and then fucking people, Darkseid comes and starts obliterating motherfuckers and killing people and just like kills Wonder Woman, does all this stuff, and Batman has to send Flash, and so we get to see him send Flash back to this movie. It's the wrong time. He pops out. No, that wasn't right. Go here, go there. Tell him the real thing. Da da da. And then it resets at the end. There, they somehow save Superman. They move like maybe the Superman dirt at the end isn't as literal as we all think it is. That it's him coming back. Maybe it is this. There's so much dumb shit they can do to play with it and have fun with it.
Right.
I don't know. I'm fascinated by it, and I do feel that they are going in a different way. And what sorry, I got off my point there. The point I was trying to make is like, I agree. Cop out answer to be like, well, you're a comic. Oh, you don't know. It'll be interesting to see if people get invested in this, because like it or hate the movie, people are talking about the movie. I'm talking about this movie, and not just, I don't think just because I'm a Superman fan, looking at conversations I'm not a part of on Twitter where people are talking about Darkseid and Mother Boxes, in a way that I never saw anyone talk about Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron ended, and it was book closed, and we were waiting for the next one. And I'm going to say that's good or bad.
Good. Yeah.
Well, no, actually.
Good.
Okay, I was going to say Age of Ultron gets fucking bashed all the time now, too.
It gets bashed for being okay, but that's the thing, though. It was fine.
But I'm talking about...
I thought it was boring.
Me too. I mean, that's my
it
thing.
It was fun, but it was boring.
It's so funny. I actually think that everyone bringing up the Marvel movies against this, it's like, if you look at the comments, even our discussion, it's just like, oh, the fun. It doesn't have the fun of whatever. It's like, dude, we're not even talking about that. It's like those movies, they make sense. It's like, I wish we could even talk about a different film franchise, like Star Wars even. You can bring up Star Wars.
Yeah.
It works. It makes sense. And it's like, this, to me, like the Rises thing is such an apt thing where it's like, Rises has flaws. This has good moments. It's like opposites. Where it's like, this movie is just a flaw and it has some good things. Whereas Rises was good. It had some flaws. And I think like that's just a big problem. Your whole thing about this all being the Dark Knight universe, I don't know if that could work. Just because like eventually it hits the point of, okay, Superman's cool, but what about fucking Aquaman and this and that, whatever. And it gets to the point where it just doesn't make sense in that universe. So I get the needing to reboot and whatever. I just think that it's just a misstep forward from the foundation level of this universe and what it could be. And I like what you're saying about if you think of the Flash thing as just the end credit scene, it just happens to be in the movie. Like, that's cool, and it's definitely an interesting way to look at it when the other movies come out and it does reference how that all works. But then it's just the same problem that like Amazing Spider-Man 2 had, which is another one of those comic movies that's just completely panned and the internet fucking hates it. I liked that movie a lot because I'm a Spider-Man fan, and seeing it, I'm like, oh, this reminds me of the Spider-Man cartoon.
I just had a conversation with somebody the other day, one of my friends from back home who isn't dialed into our world, and he's like, why do people hate Amazing Spider-Man 2? And I'm like, it was fun.
But that's the thing, is it was fun, but also I can get it. I understand. Like, it is a bad movie. It has a lot of issues. There's way too much going on, and the entire movie isn't focused on making a movie and telling a story. It's focused on making 10 other movies. And the thing with I think the Marvel movies keep getting brought up because the Marvel movies are each a standalone movie. They're always building towards something bigger, but that's just something that's happening. It's never like, oh, this movie needs to happen, so that movie happens.
Yeah.
It's always, this movie's a thing. There's little threads here and there that get picked up, and like, oh yeah, over time, we know that these fucking Infinity Gems are a thing. Mm-hmm. But it's like, as you're watching it, this gem's important in this movie, this gem's important in this movie. They're not like, I don't know. I think it's a more subtle approach that still gives all this shit, but that's why people aren't talking about Age of Ultron that way, is that they're just doing it right. But
see, I think they're a little stale at this point, and I think that not to disagree with you, but I think they do exactly what DC just did, right? They have a main story plot, and then they seed it in whatever the big overarching bad guy is going to be. And in this one, it's Thanos, and that one, it's Darkseid, who, by the way, very similar characters.
It's gonna be funny to see who they all get out there.
That's how many people are confused by both.
In Age of Ultron, that the scene with Thor was so fucking out of nowhere, because it was one of the first times in the Marvel movies that they did that. They did just, all right, here's the plot. Here's a random ass side story that has nothing to do with this movie. And
right.
It's totally setting up the other shit. And like,
and it's like a sore thumb there.
Exactly. There's been so many interviews with Whedon talking about how he's like, yeah, this is why I'm done. Like, they're getting way too into making sequels and sequels and sequels instead of doing shit. Movies, it's like, it took pretty long to hit that point. With this, it's like, before it even started, it was already there.
Yeah, I mean, it is, again, there are a lot of flaws in this film, but I feel like it's going to be unique to see how this one base kind of splinters out and spiders out to all the rest of the films. I don't have a high amount of hope for the Wonder Woman movie. I don't know what it's really, just based on how they've introduced her, that the MacGuffin of like what she needed, which was one of those moments where you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I mean, this is the digital age, and she's got a picture that she's trying to get back. Like, what is that makes no sense. There's lots of things like that in this film.
I'm stoked about Wonder Woman. If only because like I think that the standalone movie has a chance to do what Thor did, which is here's a character that no one gives a fuck about.
Right.
A general populace.
No, I totally agree.
So you go in, you're like, there's no way Wonder Woman's gonna be good. And then you go and you're like, oh, I actually care about this character.
Yeah.
I understand this. This all makes sense.
Do you think the photo thing you're too hung up on just because that's how they said it? Because I agree. I'm doing it wrong. They're like, he has something of mine that I want back, right? And it's a photo. But there's a whole folder about her. Like I took it as like she wanted to know how much he knew about her more than she wanted the one photo.
Yeah, it wasn't clear.
Yeah.
It just was jumbled, and because what the way they set it up was that he had there was an old archive photo that was sitting in a vault somewhere that she had to go get, and then it's just this email picture of her that, by the way, looked like she was cosplaying one day.
Yeah.
And that could have been easily explained away by like, yo, we just recreated this old picture. Like they
It
do
did
like
have
the
a
Wild
really
West
badass
saloons. You know what I
soundtrack
mean?
to go along with the picture every time they showed it.
You want to listen to it? I have it on my Spotify
not.
playlist.
I have a question.
really
I have a
don't.
question for you guys.
do
So
love
one
that
of
song.
one of the big things that everyone seems really hung up about is the whole Batman killing people. Do we feel
Honestly, are they? I
Yeah.
expected way more about it, but they're all like, it's okay for Batman to kill people because he's dark. Superman shouldn't have killed anybody. I'm like, fuck yourself.
I'm seeing a lot.
Would it rectify it if when they went back and told that story about, because they will eventually tell a story about him killing the Joker, I would imagine, or about Robin dying.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the moment, that's the tipping point where he starts killing, would that rectify it for you guys in your brain?
It's not. I don't think it's broken for me. This goes back to the whole problem where people are like, why is Superman so dark? Why is he so emo? Why is Batman killing people? Why is this? And it's like, you motherfuckers can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Where you sit here all the time and say, Superman's boring, and he's just a Boy Scout, and da-da-da. Well, we changed it. I want the old Superman back. No, fuck you. You can't have it. It's the same way here of like, I'm sick of the same Batman stories over and over again. We changed them up. Oh my God, this isn't Batman. I'm like, no. We have 75 years of Batman totally being like, I won't kill anybody.
Yeah,
and of course,
throwing fucking batarangs into the barrel of a gun and exploding.
yeah,
I was
exactly.
like,
and how many times? I mean, like this is the whole thing of like their universe, which I enjoy and I know is more warped than usual now. But like when I was talking about it, like their universe is supposed to be, at least I still think, superheroes are here now in our world right now, right? And I'd fucking want him to kill a Joker and all these thugs and all these dudes. Because if you kill the Joker, how many people you save? You throw him in Arkham, he keeps breaking out and murdering people,
just killing people.
Yes, I don't want you to be judge, jury, and executioner. I'd prefer if you could handcuff like the guy to the radiator and brand him, and then the sex offender was killed in prison. Jiminy Jilliker is so sorry for you. You know what I
Sucks,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
sucks for you.
I imagine Batman's has a better track record than DNA evidence. And
Yeah.
stuff.
He
But
also
no.
probably doesn't say Jiminy Jillikers.
Jiminy Jilliker's radioactive, man. No, I didn't have a problem with it. I don't mind a different interpretation of these characters.
I'm with you on that.
Good. You care, Colin?
No, I it's funny to me like how more congruent this Batman was with Nolan's universe though, which was the what I was so fascinated about it was just like, wow, this is like way darker than Bale, and this movie's certainly not even remotely as dark as those movies. So I there was some weird dissonance there for me, but I don't mind that. I mean, because I'm not married to like any idea of Batman other than Batman represents something. He can be anything at all as long as he has, like, to me, like, I'm drawn to him because he's a person, he's a man. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's why I like him. The bigger thing I was wondering with the people's the people had problems with Superman stuff. Some people that I was reading or whatever in this, and I'm just wondering. Like how you could even do Superman, right?
What were the problems with him in this one?
I think people just thought he was like we were saying, like a little like
emo.
Yeah, like and I was just like, well, that's
how would you deal with the whole planet doesn't know if they want you? Like I like that about that was the whole thing I stepped away from. I've liked Henry Cavill from the jump, right? I didn't not like Lois in Man of Steel, but I felt like her character and him didn't have the connection, and they make out, and it's weird. But this one, like, they felt in love, and I loved the rapport, and I love when he calls her low, and I love, you know what I mean? Like, they do so much, but like, for him, I thought it was played really well. I thought his performance was really well done. Of like, he's watching the TV where they're doing like all the intercuts of people debating Superman or whatever, and they come back to him, he's on the couch, and he's just like shaking his head or whatever, right?
How do I
and
win?
then like even when he sits there, like. And like, I either have to convince him to help me which I know a lot of people think is a way too forced of a conclusion from the Lex thing. But like even his dealing with Lex on the roof to coming down and like his face when he's like, I got to convince him to help me or and then he's like, nobody stays good in this world and takes off. It's like, that's cool. And that's true. And I know, again, it's people, Superman is supposed to be, this virtue of values and bright shining star. And it's like, well, you get bored with that. You say that you're bored with that. You say that that's a boring character. So they give him depth and make him doubt himself and make him worry about all these things.
But if you can't have it both, the unfortunate truth about, or the unfortunate maybe reality of it is that Superman's just not you can't do him. That's
not true though.
I just don't know.
I think the unfortunate reality is that everybody's a pussy. All these hypocrites who are like, he's boring that way, and then they change him like, don't do him that way. It's like at this point you have to clamp down and be like, this is the Superman in this universe, and until this universe blows up on the fucking landing pad, or you stop seeing these movies, like, we're gonna show you that this can be this guy and that he can have these emotions, and like we get into how is he gonna get hurt outside of kryptonite and have it not be boring and da da da. Like that's a separate argument, you know what I mean? But in terms of like characterization,
I don't know. The thing is that I wanted to like this movie, and I thought I was going to. It wasn't until the reviews started to come out, and then and you guys came back, and I was like, oh, maybe like, I don't know. I was way more optimistic about this movie than I was about Suicide Squad. Now I don't really know. I don't think they have anything to lose with Suicide Squad for sure. Like they're just.
That's why I think people are gonna like it. They're gonna come. They're gonna come out and be like, "Oh, that was way better than I thought it was gonna be."
Yeah, I just wanted them to finish the movie that you just talked about of Superman feeling all emotional about all that stuff, because it just kind of like I was in, and then it just turned into a fight scene.
I hear.
And here's more bad guys and more shit.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like then the funeral scene. It's like, is that supposed to represent that Earth realized that they needed him? Like I don't know.
I'm with you. No,
that is such an interesting story. You watch the trailers and it's like, fuck, that's a cool thing of he's dealing with the events from the first movie. And then,
but see, I feel like that's still set up, and to that degree, I think he's still a conflicted character at the end of the film. There is still a portion of the world that doesn't like him, and there's still a portion of the world that loves him. And so until they can rectify that, he will not be the other Superman. I think that's what they're driving toward. Is like once he saves the world from Darkseid, then he will take the mantle of Superman like everyone thinks he's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. He will be the moral right, the person that everyone looks up to, the one that can help everyone to do better. But we're still stuck in his origin story. Like he starts this movie and people are like, where the fuck is this guy? He can't be doing this shit. He needs to come, account for his actions. Whereas I feel like 2 movies from now they're gonna be like, go ahead.
You're good. Superman.
You do you.
We won't nuke you in the sky.
The
when you're clearly punching him out of the orbit of the Earth.
The shocking thing that we haven't even
they
touched
can track
on,
where they're going, but they didn't realize what his game plan was on that one.
The shocking thing we haven't even talked about is like Lex Luthor, who I thought was fucking atrocious. And that was the one thing that I was like, I was like, oh, I like the trailer stuff with him. Like I was like, oh, I like him. He's a little fucking crazy and weird. Like he just got worse and worse and worse in my opinion as the movie went on. Where I was like, you are playing a store brand Heath Ledger's Joker, and like you're not like that is what this character is to me. And I was reading a lot of that, like where I was like, I walked out of there with that, and a lot of people said that. And I was like, I guess I'm not like.
I didn't feel that way
alone. I was just like, this villain kind of sucks, and I don't really understand his motivation other than he doesn't like Superman. And he's like manipulating people. I'm like, but like it's boring.
I don't really see the Joker stuff. I agree that like it got worse as the movie goes on. I really liked him in the beginning.
Yeah,
like I'd say through maybe like 40% of the movie, I was like totally on board, and then it just lost it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll agree with that. Like, I think that was the thing that was most disappointing for me was I like my Lex Luthor when he doesn't get caught. I like my Lex Luthor when you can't prove he's the one that did it.
Sure.
Because he's so smart, that's his superpower, is that he's smarter than everyone else, is that he's able to be like the Frank Underwood of the DC universe, right? And so they manipulate all those things, and then Superman knows it's him, but he can't prove it.
Yeah.
And so he can't do anything about it, right? But in this one, he straight up was like, I'm going to be not only a mass murderer, but I'm also going to kidnap your mom. So... here's a picture of her just in case you weren't, like, what the fuck, man? Like, you're a psychopath all of a sudden.
It's not that I'm with you, right? That's the Lex I like. I didn't necessarily dig. Yeah, like my whole thing was I liked him in the beginning. I liked where it was going. Okay, cool. And then when he starts going off Maniac Mountain and he's fucking kidnapping moms and doing this shit, you're like, what? And then when he shaves his head, I was like, what? And then when he finally is like, ding, ding, I'm like, oh, okay, you're in on the dark side thing, but I didn't, like, again, I needed something in there. I needed it to be explained that that's what you were building at. And so, like, it's the same thing. I can't sit here in the glass house I just built and be like, I miss my Lex Luthor after I'm like 75 years. I've had that Lex, you know what I mean? Right. I don't mind you experimenting with Lex, but I didn't appreciate Lex being just an underling.
Right.
You know what I mean? Unless now he's going to get sprung and get power armor, and maybe that was the deal he made with Darkseid, that when he comes, he's going to get kick-ass fucking purple and green armor to fucking get out and run an Injustice gang or whatever.
Well, yeah, really dark purple and green.
It's gonna be really dark. It's gonna be black. But that's the thing. Like, that's what I always like about Luther is that, like, even when he loses, he wins.
Yeah.
Right? He's got that alternate angle of things. He's always coming out of something, like, he's always finding a way to win. He's always one step ahead of you at the end of the movie, right? And so that's why I feel like that they didn't really accomplish that. And also, just looking at that deleted scene today, it doesn't look like Darkseid even factored in until after Doomsday was made.
Well, the argument I've heard about it, and if you don't mind me cutting you off,
no, that's it. That's it.
Which I don't fully understand either, but is possible, is that when he goes into the ship and uses Zod's fingerprint and says, "Teach me everything," they might have taught him about Apocalypse and Darkseid there. But then I'm with you. If that's true, then what I don't understand.
Yeah.
What were we? You were building to kill Superman, hoping they'd kill each other at the same time. But then if you weren't doing it to rid the world of these heroes for Darkseid, we were just doing it to rid the world of Yeah.
Also, what was your game plan there? You're going to create something that's unstoppable, and then what?
Also a great point. Yeah, but I mean, again, but again, that plays in fine if it is that he's just prepping the world for Darkseid come down and make him a king. Okay. Darkseid comes down. Darkseid would Omega Beam Doomsday to wherever. It'd be fucking over. You know what I mean? Like, I get that part, but I need to know, was it him communicating through the ship for the first time, or was it him already having an established relationship? I don't know. These are questions that remain unanswered.
Here's my final question.
But mother boxes are there, so it's possible.
They are there.
How'd they already get there?
Do you feel like they're going to do away with the Clark Kent alter ego?
Excellent question. Thank you for asking it. I think it goes one of two ways. If Justice League starts up and Superman punches through the casket, or they've got him in...
Puts the tie back on. I'm good. I don't know who they buried. That's crazy. Empty coffin.
Well, I mean, that's what they did in Death and Return, so it's not out of the fucking question. But I think the death of the dual identity makes sense, right? Because it's stupid.
Why do you need it?
Yeah, it's totally dumb.
It's dumb.
And I still stand by, like, I think Perry kind of knows.
Yeah, I think everyone knows. That was another problem with this movie. Everyone's like, "What's up, Bruce? What up, Clark?" Like, everyone fucking knows who everyone is. Why bother wearing the mask?
But I think it goes one of two ways. Where if it opens up and Superman is still dead, and what I just talked about with, like, going back in time solves that problem, right? If you get there and tell them and stop it, then okay, cool. The death of Superman never happens, and then we're fine, and Clark's there. If Justice League happens and he's fucking back or about to be back, then I think they just remain dead.
He's got it, right?
Stupid.
Because what's the point?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, the big tension there was that Lois never knew who he was. So you had the B storyline of, like, him always being in love with Lois, but her being in love with the wrong person. Like,
you're talking about classic.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, she's like, "You're an idiot, Clark Kent. You should be more like Superman." Yeah. He's like, "Oh, how do I rectify this? Because I am Superman." And you're like, "Oh, that's kind of annoying. Why don't you just tell her?" Yeah. But she's just known from the get-go.
Yeah.
So,
which I liked.
Which is awesome.
Which was great about Man of Steel.
Why even fucking bother work? Like, that's the other thing is, all the time he spends working at the Daily Planet, he could be out saving people.
But he needs some normalcy. He needs a connection to humanity.
Oh, I don't know about that.
He's got a connection. He needs to be somewhere where he can
smoking
see stuff.
hot. Yeah. And he connects with her in that bathtub pretty,
he does.
Pretty nice, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, buddy.
But anyway.
What do you feel about those mother boxes?
Those were the weird boxes in the
cyborgs layer there. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't even.
But see, to me,
I don't know. I just don't know about all this. I just don't know.
But to me, it's the same as going like the Tesseract, and people are like, "Oh, okay, what the fuck? What the fuck is that?" Well, secretly, it's actually one of the power gems that Thanos is going to stick in his glove. I think it goes. But what the fuck? I don't know. You already lost me. What's going on there?
I agree to an extent, but at least they did go, "This is the Tesseract," and not have it just be like that. It was like the box. It's not even the problem of the box. It's the problem of the box being a symbol of Darkseid, being a symbol of apocalypse, and that this is setting up that this is happening. And what's the point of this movie? The point of this movie is Darkseid and this one guy clearing it out for Darkseid, or however this is all playing out, or that he's already influenced the world. But when you remove when you have the visual references, but nobody's saying that's what that is.
True. That's very true.
That's when it gets like, it's cool for me, and I love fucking talking about it and talking like Poe and I left, and I was explaining Darkseid and Apocalypse and the fucking parademons. I'm like, this is gonna be so cool.
Well, let me ask you this. We really should wrap this up, but I do have this fundamental question.
Sure.
Superman attracts all of these enemies, right? From being on planet Earth. So, like, it's his fault all of this is happening anyway. That's like a huge problem. Like, none of them would ever have come to Earth. None of them. What do you
Not 100% true. Not 100. Isn't the Darkseid thing? The Darkseid thing. Darkseid wants to rule the universe. He's looking for planets with intelligent life. So that's the whole
And
thing.
he just randomly comes across Earth.
Well, I mean, we'll see how they do it, but there was already a mother box on Earth. It's not like that was sent for Superman. I don't know. Like that's a question I don't have the answer for you because again, the movie's giving me no frame of reference for.
Because I thought
Darkseid.
like all of his enemies.
Zod
were, like,
came to Earth because he activated the ship or whatever.
So it just seems to me it's like.
But that's now you're talking like
It's like
Batman.
a chicken or the egg
If
thing.
Batman wasn't Batman, then none of the Bat villains would be there.
Sure, they would be. Joker would still exist.
Not what depends on
There's
the
been an
order.
argument in the whole thing.
And that's the whole. And
Or even
that's
if-
Gordon's point, like in the thing. We get bulletproof vests. They get armor-piercing bullets. Da, 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 da,
Yeah,
da.
but
We
if
get
Batman,
you. This happens.
But there'd still be the League of Shadows, like League of Assassins. They would have still existed.
Sure,
They
but
would've killed-
I mean,
they
like
would've
that's the whole
destroyed
thing. Darkseid would still exist. Zod would still exist. Maybe
true.
somebody else would stumble upon the ship and somehow fuck around.
Gotham, take back your
Jesus
city.
God.
I'm gonna hold you hostage for 8 months. Why? I don't
was 3
know.
months.
3 months. Thank you.
Was it 3 months?
The Trigger Man.
What was the point of that again? I gotta go back and watch that film again. But was it just to
I'll
prove
tell you right now.
people?
I'll tell you right now. Stop talking about it. The topic next week is Batman v Superman v Dark Knight Rises, which
Okay.
comes from the conversation
Yeah.
of the video review.
Which it's a slaughter.
Unbelievably blows my mind.
I said stop. I said stop.
Blows my mind.
Peter, stop with this
It blows
topic.
my mind that there's so many people out there that agree with you.
Get in here, Ramon Peter.
Wait, they
Ramon
agree that
Peter.
Batman v Superman's better than Dark Knight Rises.
Topic 2. Ramon's topic, everybody.
Batman,
Look at him walking in here. Look at him all suave. This musician. This gentle giant, we call him.
I didn't hear any spoilers.
Good.
Good.
I was listening to the new record from the band called Pine Grove, which I really love.
Are they from New Jersey?
They are. In between songs, I did hear something along the lines of
No spoilers.
store brand Heath Ledger's Joker.
Joker, yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I heard
No
that right.
frills. Pathmark,
Okay.
no frills.
Pathmark brand, no frills. Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ramon Navarez.
Ravone.
I almost said I almost did Namon
Namon
Navarez,
Navarez.
your Twitter handle, which is confusing for me as well. Now, you're Colin's best friend. How long have you known Colin?
About what is it now? Almost 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're a musician.
I
Of
am.
course, everyone remembers you and your band were on Seth Meyers. It was Ramon Navarez and
Oh, yeah?
some other clowns.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Kevin, link that in the description. And don't get fucking donut crumbs all over the goddamn house. We got ants.
I want to point out that earlier today, I by mistake used the mug that Kevin traditionally uses, which because I couldn't find mine because I didn't look that hard for it. I didn't look that hard for it, but I gave it a cursory look, 5 seconds, not there. Kevin, to fucking spite me, is now using my mug
Classic.
Eye for an eye.
Wallow.
Eye
because
for an
that's
eye.
who he is. That's what I deal with. And when you guys on Twitter and in the comments are like, "Be nicer to Kevin," Exhibit A. Exhibit.
I understand
Exhibit A.
why does it matter to you?
Does it hurt
'cause he
you
did
that
it-
I'm using
he
your
did
You're
it to
using
irk
his
me
mug.
by accident, and then he did
So?
it on purpose to use mine. He's putting his spit all over Walken's face.
Oh Lord.
It's not fine.
Little known fact. I use that for bacon grease all the time.
That's why it tastes so good. You know I like bacon grease.
Yeah, I know.
I like me some grease in my bowels.
And then I let it sit overnight so that you can scoop it out with like a paper towel and just throw it in the garbage.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a visual.
Tim's got something to say.
I do. We should probably break for 15 so we can take this call.
Okay.
It's at 4 because it's already 4 o'clock.
I can reschedule a call too, but yeah, we should.
Thanks, Ramon.
I mean,
It's
think
been a
we should,
great
you know.
show.
Thanks for having me.